flush into dry. Our needle, clean the needle so that we've got no ridges of paint anywhere. Clean the tip just with a finger. Flush it, leave it to dry. Once again, wipe off the outside of these components. Now, don't blow into the air cap, so if there's anything on the surface it might send it into the holes of the air cap. Blow from the backside, blow it away from it. That's now clean. The needle, wipe it, paper towel, clean. Fluid tip, once again, your first blow out of the fluid tip, not into the fluid tip. Wipe with a paper towel. That is a clean spray gun. There's nothing else we need to do. You can put the baffles back in with the separator. Fluid tip, always send it 99% in by hand. A little nip, I mean a little nip, doesn't need to be roasted in there. Then you assemble the needle. I will actually put a smearing of grease on this, but I'm not going to grease here to hand. So we'll reinsert the needle. Make sure at this point that the needle works correctly, just with finger and thumb before you put the spring in, which is fine. Then you put the spring, the adjuster in. Key the trigger, wind the adjuster in until it comes up to a stop, and that's your full needle. That's your full needle movement. Air cap back on the top. Do not tighten up air caps unnecessarily. Inside an air cap there's a nylon seal. When you're painting, this has to be secure and tight, but it only has a life of so many attaching tightly. So with the DeVilbiss guns, rotate the cap and you can feel that there's a little bit of drag there now. I can feel that that nylon seal is just about to pinch. If you're just going to store this gun, leave it like that. That's the best place. Don't roast it on there, it will jam and stick over time, so leave it like that. Put the gauge back on. And that's ready. As my first comment, this pot will now have been in there, been splashed around with the solvent, so we can now get the gun, get the brush, clean around the threads on the lid and the pot. The last thing we want is paint to start building up on there and stop your pot working correctly. That should just spin on my... This pot's quite old and it's still working fine. So that's basically how I clean my guns. As I say, if you set the gun right before you start to paint, or if you notice once you have started to paint you're getting a lot of blowback from the car, your gun's getting covered with the colour that you're using, try and make some adjustments to reduce the amount of blowback that you get onto your gun, because you've created a turbulent area between your car and the gun. So the gun's not going to be working very efficient, you're going to be wasting paint with lots of overspray, and also it's going to be a messy job. You're going to have a gun that's all covered with stickiness and overspray, and it's just not nice. So that's my take on this machine. Every gun I use finishes the cleaning in this tank. If I am using water base, my base coats, same principle. Flush the pot first. We're trying to get rid of waste paint, so we'll flush the pot first. And what I have done, I'll take you over there. Excuse me, I haven't got a proper tripod or tape to the tin of paint. What I have got is a homemade wash tank. this wash tank is a parts wash tank, but it's never had solvent, it's never had any type of cleaning fluid, paraffins, diesels, anything like that in the tank. When it was bought new, it was instantly filled with water, with fresh water. So I do the same process for base coat, clean the pot as I say, all the cleaning, then all the parts are stripped down in this basket inside the machine. This then is electric, it's got an electric pump that flushes with water. So any of you smart repair guys out there that want a small cleaning tank just to go in your back of your van or truck, this works really well for me. Once again, clean water, flushes all the water out of the spray gun, so the spray gun is now clean, it's paint free, there's no paint in the gun. And then I take it from this one back to my proper spray tank. As I say, it's got fume extraction, even my hose wants actually repairing at the moment. That's extracted outside. It's got a on-off button here for air supply and fume extraction. Has 2 foot controls, one for the majority of the solvent, one for the flush, and inside here we have a nice new tank of gun wash. And I do use the better quality ones, not the cheapies. And there's a separate tank in the bottom which houses the pure solvent that's not recycled, just for flushing, so that your gun isn't sticky when you finish doing your cleaning. There we go. So that's my take on cleaning a spray gun. Obviously, if you're doing an annual service, we'll say, or a 6-monthly service, and you do strip the gun down any further, and you might change the guide for the needle, you might change any of the other controls, you might have an air leak now on the air valve or the trigger valve, then obviously yes, it's a bit bigger of a process. But if you religiously, every time that you do a paint job, clean the gun just as I've done there, as I say, we're not interested in cleaning all this. This is nothing that should be getting dirty. The only thing that we're cleaning is the paint out of that little tiny short passage. The only other thing I will mention, these gauges, as I say, try and keep solvent away from them as much as you can. A lot of the gauges, that the glass is actually a perspex, and it will actually get burnt by the solvent, and then you can't read the gauge. A little tip that I learned from a guy a long time ago, cling film. Little piece of cling film over your gauge will protect it from any overspray that you're going to splash onto it whilst you're painting. And then once every 3 or 4 days, once it gets to a point where you can't read your gauge, pull the cling film off, put another piece on. There's nothing worse than having a gauge on your gun but not being able to read the pressure because the glass is all distorted. So a little piece of cling film, and when you need to remove it, It's like peel-offs on a motorcycle helmet. It's great. So as you can see, this gun spotlessly clean now. I know it wasn't dirty to start with, but because the machine has got clean solvent in, it hasn't made it dirty in this particular instance. But that has virtually sterilised the gun. As I say, if it would have had water based in, it would have been washed with water first, get rid of that water based paint, then cleaned in this tank, or a final flush with acetone. I do use acetone quite a lot. Once I found out how useful it was in the body shop, I use it for all sorts of things. It will degrease, it will clean off, it will get rid of solvent, if you silicons. If you're having problems with silicons, if you've got a contaminated spray gun, and you think that your silicon issues or contamination issues are coming from the gun, it does a better job than solvent or gun wash to sterilise your gun. Acetone, a little bit of acetone in the pot, like I said before, about 100 ml or so. Use that, clean it, flush the gun. That will kill everything that's on the surface of the gun. That's a really good product, and it's cheap. It's about £9 or £10 for a gallon for 5 litres. It's really good. So yeah, any contamination, any issues you're having, I have actually seen guys get acetone. If you have a panel that's pickled up or from silicone, put a little bit of acetone in your gun, spray over the surface with it in your gun, and then wipe it off with a rag. Don't leave it on there too long because it works like a blend out or a fade out agent, but it does kill and get rid of silicone on the surface as well, so it's quite a nice product really. But yeah, that's it. That's my take on cleaning the gun. That's all you should be needing to do. It's not a big process, it's not an arduous process. As I say, we're only flushing paint down we'll call it a little straw that's 2 inches long, that's 5-10mm bore, whatever. That's all we're cleaning out from paint. So you shouldn't use a lot of solvents. I do have some of the DeVilbiss squeezy bottles, so if you're going from colour to colour, you can just use the squeezy bottles, a little bit of squirt in there, flush that through clean, crack on with the next colour, or crack on with whatever you're doing next. So I do use those as well. So cleaning has become quite easy really. We don't need to use gallons and gallons of solvents to clean our guns. They're not that bad. The little passages are nothing. My older style guns, I've got some JGAs and GTIs with the siphon feed guns with the pot on the bottom. We had quite a large passage right the way up through the gun. Those were more troublesome to clean, but these, the gravity fed guns, very minimum painting, next to cleaning, sorry. Nothing much to do at all. That's about it for this morning. Thank you for the subscriber to actually ask to demonstrate how I clean my guns and my cleaning thing. It's the first guy in 6 months or so that have actually asked for something, but I have got quite a lot of followers now. I've had a lot of viewings on the 18 or 20 videos that I've put up, and I shall continue to do in bits and pieces. Any input I get from you guys is really appreciated. Anything else that you want to see, by all means, give me a little message in the box and I'll come back and do what I can. So thanks again to the viewer for requesting how I clean my guns. Thank you.